Welcome to Concept Clarity series by Agri Clarity.
Our today's topic of discussion is MSP, मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस. आप सभी को पता होगा ये क्या होता है, उसको भी डिस्कस करेंगे. उसके पहले ये समझ लेते हैं कि इसकी हमें ज़रूरत क्यों पड़ी. ठीक है, तो हम जब आज़ाद हुए थे नए नए, वी वर नॉट सेल्फ सफिशिएंट इन टर्म्स ऑफ growing our food grains. So what we had to do, we had to depend on foreign aid. So we were depending significantly on United States. तो यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स का एक फूड लॉ था जिसे कहते हैं पब्लिक लॉ 480, ठीक है, या फिर PL 480. सो व्हाट इट यूज टू डू थ्रू दिस लॉ इज दैट it used to provide food assistance to developing countries. Okay, this was passed in 1954 and it was very significant for India because India heavily dependent on it. It was introduced by the United States to deal with its surplus agricultural produce. US was having surplus of food, okay, and now it had to export it to some country. So India was one of those countries. It was also giving it to other developing countries as well. Okay, so why did India agree to this? Because at that time India was facing frequent droughts, we had low crop productivity, we had rapid population growth, then there was food shortages and risk of famine. So to avoid mass hunger, India relied on food imports. PL 480 came to our rescue. Okay, so what were the positive impacts of PL 480 for India? So it helped avoid famines in 1950s and 60s. Okay, so there were a lot of famines during 1950s and 60s. So it helped avoid famines in the 1950s and 60s, and it provided millions of tons of wheat and rice. It supported the school feeding programs and nutrition drives, gave India time to develop its own food capacity. So in the background, what we were doing is we were taking time to develop our own food production capacity. Now, what were the negative impacts? So this made India dependent on US aid. And why was it bad for us? Because during the India-Pakistan war of 1965, what US has done is that it delayed the shipments of this food aid. So this created economic and political vulnerability. And this led us to understand that we could not rely all the time for food aid. We had to become self-sufficient. So after the Green Revolution in the late 1960s and early 1970s, India's food production increased thanks to the Green Revolution, right? So we became self-sufficient in terms of key food grains. Obviously, first we will concentrate on key food grains and then we will go about other food grains as well. So in fact, by the 1990s, India started donating food to other countries. So there was a complete turnaround for India. So apart from the unstable foreign aid, there were other problems as well which India was facing. We'll talk about them. Okay, so this entire scenario, when this thing is going on, right now you know that India's population is highest, right? So at that point of time also there was a growing population which was also something which we had to cater to. Okay, so India's population was growing rapidly and relying on imports was not a long-term solution. The country needed to produce more feed. So India's population was increasing rapidly and relying on imports was not a long-term solution. The country needed to produce more food every year to avoid hunger and famine. Next, we had a foreign exchange crisis. Okay, so buying food grains from abroad meant spending a lot of foreign currency, which India had in very limited supply. I told you that our economy was not doing well at that point. It hurt the economy and slowed down development. Next is there was a need for agriculture modernization. Low yields, poor irrigation, and traditional farming methods meant India could not grow enough food. The push for self-reliance led to investment in high yield seeds. Then there was use of fertilizers and irrigation, So MSP was needed at that point to support the farmers, and of course the green revolution. So this led to the need for MSP. Now we will discuss what is MSP. Okay, so MSP is the minimum guaranteed price. We all know that. Okay, so MSP was introduced to protect farmers from losses when market prices fall too low. After independence, I told you, especially during 1960s, India faced major shortage of food. To become self-sufficient in food production, the government needed to encourage farmers to grow more. But farming involves many risks like drought, flood, pest, and unpredictable market prices. If prices fall after harvest, farmers may not even recover their input cost. So this leads to debt, distress sales, and even farmer suicides. I hope you're aware about NCRB. NCRB is known as National Crimes Record Bureau. Okay, so it had released a data in December 2023 that 11,290 farmer suicides case were reported. So right now also you can see that the situation is not that great. So in order to help our farmers, we had to introduce MSP, and now also you will see that a lot of changes are being asked for. There are protests already. So it is going to act as a safety net. So whenever the farmers are investing so much of energy, so much of resources to produce the food grains, we should ensure that the farmers don't sell at a loss during price fluctuations. So the minimum guaranteed prices are fixed to set a floor, okay, below which market prices cannot fall. But is this the reality? No, this is not the reality. Sometimes the market prices will fall below the MSP also. So if no one else buys it, the government will buy the stock at this minimum guaranteed price, which came to be known as the MSP. I hope now you have understood what is the idea and from where this MSP thing came. So have you wondered ever about who decides the minimum support price or MSP that farmers receive? The answer is CACP. Now we'll talk about CACP. So CACP is the Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices. Okay, CACP is an attached office under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India. It plays a crucial role in ensuring income for our farmers by recommending MSPs for key crops every season. We'll talk about the key crops as well in the later parts. So it was established in 1965. Originally it was called Agricultural Prices Commission. So in 1985 it was renamed to CACP to reflect its broader role in agricultural pricing and policy. So the purpose of CACP is clear. Recommend MSPs for important crops, ensure remunerative prices to farmers, promote balanced crop production, and maintain price stability in the agri sector. Okay. So now we will see what are the various steps and how the final MSP is announced. So number one is that CACP, I already told you, they will recommend the MSP. So what they will do, they will analyze the cost of production. Okay. There are various methods of analyzing it, A2, A2 plus FL. We will also talk about this in some time. Consider market trends, crop parity and demand supply. And this will ensure them to give recommendation to the government. So when they'll give the recommendation, to whom they are specifically giving the recommendation, they will give it to Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Okay. So this will examine CACP's recommendation and then it will take the final decision. So that is why CACP is a statutory body. Okay. So its nature is advisory. Whatever it says, it's not binding. Some different decision can be taken by CCEA. So the final MSP is announced by the Government of India and then it is declared, and now the procurement agencies like FCI, NAFED, Cotton Corporation can implement it. Even some state governments can announce bonus also. Okay. So what happens is, suppose the MSP announced has been 1200. So if the state government says that we will give a bonus of 400, so now the farmer will receive 1200 plus 400, that is 1600. Okay, they'll receive 1600 as price for their crops. Now let's talk about how MSP in India is determined. Okay, so the Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices, that is CACP, looks at multiple economic and market based factors to recommend fair and scientific prices. So let us just try to understand them. First one is cost of production. So this is the foundation. It includes all the expenses a farmer bears while growing the crop, from seeds and fertilizers to labor and irrigation. Without covering these costs, MSP would serve no real purpose. Number two is change in input prices. When prices of inputs like diesel, urea or electricity rise, farming becomes costlier. CACP adjusts MSPs accordingly to shield farmers from inflationary pressures. Next is input output price parity. This compares the cost of inputs with the price a farmer gets for their produce. The goal is to ensure that the profit margin stays attractive. Next is trends in market prices. MSP must also reflect recent market movements. If prices have been falling continuously, the MSP can act as a protective cushion. Okay. Then we have demand and supply. Too much supply and low demand, prices fall. Too little supply, prices rise. MSP helps stabilize this imbalance by influencing sowing decisions. So MSP will determine that which crop will be sown by the farmers, because they'll see that this MSP is going to be higher, so obviously they are going to sow that seed more, right? Number 6 is terms of trade between agriculture and non-agriculture. This ensures farmers aren't left behind. It checks whether income from farming is keeping pace with income in other sectors like manufacturing or services. For India, it is very important, right? Because most of our population is involved in agriculture only. Then we have inter-crop price parity. MSP should not favor one crop excessively over another. Balanced pricing will avoid the overproduction of a single crop and promote crop diversification, right? Number 8 is effect on industrial cost structure. Some crops are used as raw materials in industries like cotton or sugarcane. Changes in MSP affect the cost of goods for industries, and this ripple effect is carefully considered. Effect on living. Next is effect on cost of living. Higher MSPs could raise the price of food. So the impact on consumer inflation, especially for essential staples, is weighed while fixing the MSP. Next is effect on general price level. Beyond food, if prices rise across sectors due to MSP hikes, it could contribute to overall inflation. The government avoids these by ensuring balance. Next, we have international price situation. It is also important because global prices also matter, especially for export-import crops. If India's MSP is too high compared to international rates, it may affect trade competitiveness. Next is parity between prices paid and prices received by farmers. This checks whether farmers are getting a fair return on what they invest. It aims to reduce the income gap and ensure economic justice for the farming community. Next, we have effect on issue prices and subsidy implication. Finally, MSP affects the price at which food is distributed under the public distribution system, that is PDS. A higher MSP can mean higher food subsidy bills for the government. In short, MSP isn't just about farmers' welfare. It's a balancing act between agriculture, industry, consumers, and the economy. So a lot of the factors are considered while determining the MSP. Next, we are going to talk about how the prices are determined, what kind of calculations are done. So when the government decides the minimum support price or MSP, it doesn't just look at one figure. The Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices, CACP, calculates 3 different kinds of production cost for each crop at both state and national levels. So there are not only 3, there are more than that, but we will be talking about only 3 of them. So number 1 is A2. This is the most basic, okay, most basic one. It includes all the paid out costs that the farmer spends in cash or kind, like seeds, fertilizers, labor, irrigation, pesticides. Next is A2 plus FL. So here FL stands for family labor. So this cost includes A2 plus the estimated value of unpaid work done by the family members on the farm. Okay, next is C2 cost. You know that a lot of farmers are protesting right now because they want C2 calculation to be done for determining the MSP, because this cost will come a little bit higher, because here we are also going to consider rented value of owned land plus the interest on fixed capital, right? Why it is C? Because it is most comprehensive. So it covers everything in A2 plus FL plus the rental value of owned land and interest foregone on fixed capital assets like machinery, whatever farm machinery you are using, right? So it is going to reflect the true economic cost of cultivation. So that is why farmers want that the MSP should be calculated on C2, right? C2 is most inclusive and ideal for calculating fair MSPs, although the government uses A2 plus FL as the main reference. Understanding this helps us how MSP aims to fairly compensate farmers for all that goes into growing our food. Okay, now let us look at the crops for which MSP is announced. So here is the list. First is, there are 14 kharif crops: jowar, bajra, maize, ragi, tur, moong, urad, groundnut, soybean, sunflower seed, sesame, Niger seed, paddy and cotton. So for these MSPs are announced, and for rabi crops there are 6 crops: wheat, barley, gram, lentil, mustard and safflower. Recently the price revision has been done for kharif crops. You might have observed in the news. Then there are 2 commercial crops: raw jute and copra, which is dehusked coconut. Okay. And for sugarcane, fair and remunerative price, that is FRP, is announced instead of MSP, because the pricing of sugarcane is governed by the statutory provision of the Sugarcane Control Order, because it comes under the Essential Commodities Act. Sugar is an essential commodity, as you might be aware, so that is why it is governed by the Essential Commodities Act 1955. So this is known as FRP. You might know that the more the sugar cane is stored, the quality of the liquid that comes out from it deteriorates and the quantity also becomes less. So that is why it is very important that it reaches the sugarcane factories on time, and a fair and remunerative price should be paid to the farmer, so there is no delay. Okay, now we will discuss one important thing, that is and how the procurement mechanism works under the MSP. So how it works: first, MSP is announced before the sowing season based on the recommendations of the Commission of the Agricultural Cost and Prices, that is CACP. Then CCEA, that is Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, will approve that, and then the MSP is declared. Okay, so now the crops, when they are harvested, farmers will bring their produce to the regulated mandis. This is the second step, the official market. Okay, they'll bring it. After that, the government agencies like the Food Corporation of India, state civil supply departments and specialized agencies like NAFED and the Cotton Corporation of India, they will swing into action. So what they'll do, they'll set up procurement centers to directly buy from farmers, but only if the crop meets fair average quality standards. So first they will be setting up procurement centers, and then quality check will be there. Okay, once the quality is checked, the farmers are paid the MSP amount directly into their bank accounts, often through DBT, that is direct benefit transfer, into their bank accounts they'll receive the money. But the reality check is that the procurement is mostly concentrated in rice and wheat, and primarily in a few states like Punjab, Haryana and Madhya Pradesh. For other crops like pulses, oilseeds and cereals, procurement remains patchy and irregular. This leads to many farmers, especially in eastern and southern states, selling their crops below MSP. I told you that sometimes, even though MSP is the floor, price, then also in the market the selling price can be lower than that, simply because procurement facilities are either absent or inefficient. So while MSP gives confidence to farmers, its impact largely depends on a strong and wide-reaching procurement network. So I hope you have understood how it works. I hope you found this video useful. In the next video, that is the part 2, we are going to talk about the key issues and challenges of MSP, the objectives and benefits, and what are the recent developments, and if there are any policy recommendation or any committee related to that, we will also go through that. I hope you are finding this concept clarity series useful. Let me know in the comments if it was beneficial to you. Keep preparing for your IBPS AFO examinations. All the best.